Hey, what's up? It's Karen San Diego, and in today's video, we're talking about some things that I wish I knew before I had VSG surgery. I actually already did this video maybe about 6 months ago, and a lot has changed since then. There's a lot of new things that I've learned along this journey, so I wanted to do an update, and I'll probably be doing updated versions of this video forever because it seems like as you go through this journey, a lot of things change, you learn new things, and as always, if I learn something new, I'm gonna share it with you. That rhymes. All right, so let's just jump right on in to some things that I wish I knew before I even had VSG surgery. So the first thing that I wish I knew before I had VSG surgery is that stalls are just gonna happen. I think I mentioned this before, but I wanted to bring this up again because I get a lot of questions about stalls, and I know a lot of you get really stressed out by stalls. But when I bring it up in this moment as to say stalls happen, what I'm talking about specifically is that first stall, the 3-week stall. So for those of you who do not know, the 3-week stall is a stall that happens to almost everybody in the beginning of their journey. It's a stall that happens when you first get off of the liquid diet and you're starting to reintroduce solid foods back into your diet, whether that be through complete solid foods or the pureed stage. When this happens, you start to gain back the water weight you lost during your liquid diet while still simultaneously losing fat. You're still losing weight, but you're gaining back that water weight. And because of that, the scale kind of just stays flat. It doesn't go up or down, or if it does, it's literally just like a pound or two. And because of that, it looks like you're not losing weight for sometimes anywhere between like a week to a month. And this can be very stressful. I know for me, it was very stressful. The information I'm giving you is because I did a lot of research during this time period, trying to understand what was happening. Because I was literally a mess. I was crying. I was feeling bad about myself. I thought my sleeve was broken. All while there was a perfectly reasonable medical explanation as to why I was stalled at 3 weeks. And this is the kind of thing that I wish I knew before surgery. In the research that I had done before surgery, I hadn't come across any content creators talking about a 3-week stall, so I didn't know anything about it. My medical team never mentioned to me that I probably would stall around 3 weeks. It was just something that was never brought up, which is weird to me because of how common it is. Like, most of us will deal with that 3-week stall. So it's the kind of thing that kind of should be coming up more just to prepare you. So when it does happen, you're not like, whoa, what's happening? Is my stall broken? Is something... No, nothing's wrong. It's literally something that is just going to happen because you're regaining that water weight. And when I say regaining, I know we easily have a negative connotation to the word regain. But in this case, it's not a bad thing because the water weight that you lost, you need that water. Your body needs that water to survive and stay hydrated and be healthy. So the water weight that you're regaining is essential for your survival. So it's not a bad thing. And it also doesn't mean that you're not losing weight because you are still losing weight. And the best way to be able to see that is to track your measurements. Try on clothes that were too small, try on your clothes from before surgery, watch how it fits different. But just the real thing to do during that 3-week stall is to just stay off the scale. Get back on the scale in like 2 weeks or so and see some movement. That's how you'll do it. Making sure you're increasing your water, so you're drinking enough water. That also will help during that time period. But for the most part, it's a waiting game and it's gonna happen to everybody. So I wish it was talked about more by medical teams and by other content creators, just so that people are a little bit more aware of it, because I definitely did not know nothing about that stall before surgery. The next thing that I wish I knew before having surgery was that the liver shrinking diet you do before you have surgery is not about weight loss. And when I say liver shrinking diet, I'm using that term specifically because it's gonna look different depending on what doctor you go to. For some doctors, they tell you to go on a 2-week all liquid diet, meaning you eat nothing, you just drink liquids, usually protein shakes, protein water, coffee, things like that, all liquids for 2 weeks. Some doctors have people do a partially liquid diet, so where you drink 2 protein shakes and eat 1 meal. Some doctors, like my doctor, don't do any sort of fasting. Instead, they have you eat 1,200 calories in order to shrink your liver. But the purpose of this pre-op diet is to shrink your liver down to a smaller size to make surgery easier for the surgeon. it isn't actually even about you. It's about making sure your surgery goes as smooth as possible, shrinking your liver down because your liver is on top of your stomach. They need it out of the way so that they can get a clear view of what they're trying to do. So that is the purpose of that diet. And I think a lot of people, including me, before surgery are under the assumption that you're on that diet to lose weight before surgery, but that's simply not true. And because of that, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to decide to cheat on that diet and short yourself in that way because you're like, well, I'm trying to lose weight, and you're not seeing it as something important. But when you really think about it, that pre-op diet is so important for a few reasons. The first reason is literally the intention of the diet. They're making you go on a diet in order to make surgery go smoother for them. At the end of the day, that's what we want. We want surgery to go smooth for them because we want to still be here when we wake up from surgery. We don't want to have any complications. And making sure that we help the doctors out by helping to shrink our liver is only going to make sure that we get to be healthy afterwards, have a surgery without complications. So it's in your best interest to stick to that diet and try your hardest with that. But also, I look at that pre-op diet as like the first test of dedication. Can you do this? You're gonna have to eat small portions for the rest of your life. And granted, it is easier to do so after surgery than it is before surgery, since after surgery, you don't have the same appetite as you did before surgery. However, it is still difficult after surgery to stick to your routine. So that pre-op diet is like a first little glimpse into what life is gonna be like for you, having to be restricted, and just to show yourself, how bad do you really want this? How serious are you really about this? I remember before surgery, I never actually had to do the full liquid diet pre-op. I did it post-op. But pre-op, I never had to do a full liquid diet. I had a 1,200 calorie diet. And honestly, I was a little bit disappointed when my doctor told me that there was no liquid diet before surgery. I kind of wanted to do the liquid diet because I thought that it was going to be able to test my discipline. I wanted to know, how hard are you really willing to work for what you want? So I kind of wanted to see if I was going to be able to do that, but that isn't what my plan was. My doctor wanted me to do a 1,200 calorie diet. I did that. I was successful with that, but it honestly wasn't that difficult because I could eat. But regardless of what your liver shrinking diet is, it is so important to stick to it because you want to make sure your surgery goes smooth, and you want to prove to yourself that you will go hard and you will work hard for whatever it is that you want in life, including the results that come from this surgery. So stick to your liver shrinking diet, if for nothing else, just to make sure that you can have a surgery without complications. Next on my list of things that I wish I knew before surgery was that you will still be addicted to food after having the surgery. The surgery is not a magic pill that is just going to be like, snap, and now your food addiction is gone. You are still going to be addicted to food. You are still going to have those same urges to binge eat. You are still going to have all of those things. It is going to be up to you after surgery what you're going to do about that. So, for example, before I had the surgery, I was under the impression that I was going to now just all of a sudden not have these cravings anymore because I knew I could eat small portions, that I wasn't going to be addicted to food anymore. I wasn't going to be able to fall into these traps. And it's just simply not true. After surgery, you have this tool in your stomach which makes it difficult to do those things, but not impossible. So it still requires a lot of willpower that you have to still continuously put the work in to keep up with. I think people who get the surgery, as well as people who don't know much about the surgery, think that it's just this quick fix that just fixes all of your problems, and it's really not that. Like, it still does take a lot of work and determination to be able to fight your food addiction and live a healthier lifestyle after the surgery. You are not gonna wake up from the surgery table and have just kicked your food addiction. Whether that means you need to continuously see a therapist to help you with your food addiction, or if it's just you really being intentional about the choices that you're making and holding yourself accountable when you're not sticking to the course. I'm by no means perfect. I definitely have days where I eat better than other days. I honestly had donuts a few times this week, and after like the third time I ate a donut, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is not it. That is not it. And I had to really have a conversation with myself and check myself about that. Because after the first one, Food addiction is a real addiction, for the same way how if you give a drink to an alcoholic, they're probably going to spiral back into their addiction. It's the same thing for food. So introducing those type of foods back into my diet is something that I have to do carefully. And this week, I will say honestly, I was not doing it carefully and I overdid it a little bit. But it's just having that ability to stop and be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I need to check myself and get back on the right track. And being able to have that moment is not easy, because sometimes you just kind of get caught up in it and forget that you have a food addiction and you cannot allow yourself to overindulge. And while I do preach that you can enjoy all things in moderation, moderation is the key there. And if you're realizing that something you're doing is not in moderation and you're starting to overindulge, you have to be able to check yourself. And that is not something that is easy for everyone. So for some people, it's going to mean having accountability partners. It's going to mean continuously going to therapy. It's going to mean really putting in the work to be a little bit hard on yourself as far as keeping yourself accountable with grace and with love, of course, but still accountability. But yeah, I think it's just important to remember that that food addiction doesn't just go away because you had surgery. And that's definitely something that I don't think I was fully aware of before I actually had this surgery. The next thing that I wish I understood before having surgery, and this is another thing that surprisingly I was never told, and that's when it comes to multivitamins. So you guys know I only take Barry Life multivitamins. I do have a code if you are interested in their vitamins. They're linked below. Before I started taking Barry Life vitamins, I had tried so many different brands. My doctor had gave me like a really big sample pack. So if you're about to have this surgery, ask your doctor if they have samples of bariatric vitamins before you buy any. Ask your doctor if they have samples. My doctor gave me literally a huge tote full of a bunch of different samples before I purchased any vitamins. And I tried all of them. I tried all of the ones she gave me, and they all made me sick immediately. Like immediately, completely nauseous. The chewables were just gross. So that wasn't even that. But even the pill forms, most of the brands, regardless of what I did, made me feel really, really sick. But I learned on my own without being told by my medical team or any other influencers or anything like that. I realized that that can be fixed by eating something with carbs in it before you take your vitamins. And of course, different vitamins are different. So a lot of those bariatric vitamins that I took in the beginning before I found Barry Life, even if I ate, I would still feel a little sick. But eating something with carbs would make me not feel as sick. But with Barry Life vitamins, if I eat something with carbs before taking those vitamins, I don't feel sick at all. But even with Barry Life vitamins, if I take my vitamin before eating, I'm gonna be sick. So it doesn't matter, regardless of what vitamin you take. If you don't want to feel sick to your stomach every single morning, eat something with carbs in it before you take your vitamin. I think it has something to do with the fact that bariatric vitamins just have so much vitamins in there. So without something in your stomach to kind of help soak that up, like, Like seriously, thank me later for that advice, because I had to learn that one the hard way. Next thing I wish I knew before having VSG surgery was do not stock up on anything before surgery. And before surgery, I had bought cases of protein shakes, cases of protein water, cases of powdered protein and things like that. Just ridiculous amount of stuff. And honestly, I have some of it still. Some of it has expired, a lot of it has wasted. And that's because your taste buds before surgery, not even close. Your taste buds change completely after you've had surgery. So whatever it is that you loved before surgery, you're gonna hate it. Like most likely, you're gonna hate most of that stuff after surgery, especially as it pertains to protein. The protein shakes I loved before surgery are the ones I hate the most now. Before surgery, I was addicted. I loved strawberry Fairlife protein shakes. Those are my favorite. I didn't like the vanilla, the chocolate, none of them, just the strawberry. So what did I do? I went out and I bought cases on cases of strawberry protein shakes. When I tell you, immediately after surgery, the thought of a strawberry protein shake made me want to throw up. I don't know why that happens. I have absolutely no clue what the scientific backing behind why your taste buds change so much is, but they do. They change from between before surgery and after surgery, and they continuously change during your journey. So for example, before surgery, strawberry Fairlife protein shakes, my jam. So immediately after surgery, hated it. Then I started drinking the Ensure Max Protein chocolate protein shakes. Love them. Few months later, hate them. Now, then I started getting more into protein waters. Hate them now. Then, now I drink a vanilla Fairlife protein shake, but only in my coffee. I love it currently, but we don't know if that's gonna change. So I say all that to say, don't stock up on anything. Just the best thing that you could do is just to buy a small amount of anything, see if you like it, and if you like it, restock. But go just like a month or two at a time, because you really never know. Save your coins. Do not go out and buy all 72 flavors of Premier Protein shakes and keep them in your pantry, because I'm telling you, you're gonna hate them in like a week. If you know, you know. Next thing that I really wish I knew before surgery is that the unhealthy food that made me feel sick in the beginning of my journey after surgery eventually wouldn't make me feel sick anymore. And this is really, really dangerous because I was under the impression that cake and cookies and donuts, fast food, things like that, that those things would make me sick if I eat them. Therefore, it would just kind of be a natural accountability partner that doesn't let me eat those things. So I'd be good for the rest of my life and I wouldn't really have the urge to eat those things because I'm gonna be sick. So why would I want it? And while that sounds great, it's not true. After like 7 months post-op, after like 7-8 months post-op, for me anyway, nothing makes me sick. Literally the only thing that I still cannot eat is avocados. Avocados make me throw up immediately, but they're not even unhealthy, right? But like in the beginning, if I had like some cake, the sweetness would make me sick. Donuts, fast food, fried food, all of that kind of stuff would make me feel really, really sick in the beginning. Now it does not. Now I can eat it. And because I can eat it, sometimes I do. And while I still, even with having those unhealthy foods, and I keep putting air quotes because I don't think anything is unhealthy if you have it in moderation, but I'm talking about when it's not in moderation. And those things, I absolutely can eat it now, and I absolutely do eat it sometimes. And while even if I eat those things, I still do eat it in small portions. I'm not overeating by any means, but I still do think that it's not the best to have those things often. And now that they're not making me sick anymore, I'm starting to notice that the frequency in which I'm eating unhealthy foods is not really in the moderation zone anymore. So this is what I was talking about before, where I've had to like kind of check myself and get myself back into the foundations of things. But it gets to a scary place where you're like, holy, you know, I can actually eat these things again. I can eat now. I can eat larger portions, still not a crazy amount, but I can eat more than I used to. And I can also eat whatever I want to eat because food isn't making me sick. So that just puts extra pressure on you when you get closer to a year out, because I'm actually going to be a year out next month, which is insane. But the closer you get to a year out, the more things start to return back to a little bit of a norm. Obviously, you still can't eat large portions. You still can't binge eat, all of that stuff. But the kind of things you can eat change. So the further out you get, the more it's on you to remember all the things you learned in the first 11 months of your journey before you got to this point, and really making sure that you don't get carried away. And that just becomes harder. So it becomes less of like, oh, I got this sleeve in my stomach that's gonna just hold me down. And instead it becomes, look, now that she being my sleeve, it's a girl. Now that she's kind of loosened up on me a little bit, now it's on me to remember what I've learned and keep on track of my progress and not mess up everything that I've worked so hard for over the last 11 months, all because I can. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, we know this. And the next thing that I wish I knew before having VSG surgery is just simply that this isn't cheating. So this is something, as my social media platforms start to grow, I notice a lot more of those type of comments of people talking about, well, you didn't really work for it because you cheated, you got surgery, or things along those lines. And before surgery, I kind of saw that as a true statement. Whereas now it's very clear to me that no, this is not a cheat code, it's a tool. And it's a tool that is necessary for certain people. And if you are one of those people who medically have real reasons why you weren't losing weight naturally before and weren't able to maintain weight loss before, like myself and like many of you, for us, it is a tool. We needed something a little bit extra to help us along our journey. But actually being able to achieve good results, the tool isn't going to do that for you. The tool isn't going to give you the results. The tool stops you from being able to binge eat, but it doesn't stop you from being able to eat the wrong things. It doesn't stop you from just waiting a little bit and pushing your restriction. It doesn't get you up and send you to the gym. It doesn't do all the things that are necessary for you to achieve good results and achieve long-term results. So 100% it is still on you. I've used this example before, and I think this is a really good example to help understand where this is coming from. As a former teacher, I had students in my classroom who took tests on their own. They were able to get high grades without any assistance. I also had kids who had IEPs, who had a learning plan that in that plan said that they needed to have an extra time on their tests. And that's because those kids had learning differences that made it harder for them to focus in the small amount of time that other kids would have had no problem completing the test. When we look at things like that, we don't tell the kids with learning differences that they're cheating because they got extra time on the test. They got a tool that is going to help them get to their goal, which is to do well on their exam. They are just as capable as everybody else as doing well on the exam. They just need a little bit of assistance getting there because they learn differently, because they read differently, because they access information differently. For us, our bodies lose weight differently. Our bodies store insulin differently. Our bodies process sugar and fat and all these things differently than people with normal operating bodies. And because of that, we use this tool to help us achieve the goal. The same way having extra time on a test does not automatically equate to a kid passing his test. You can get 2 extra hours on your test and still fail. You can get 2 extra hours on your test and do well. Like, it's not a cheat. It's literally a tool. So it's the same thing with this, and I think I wish I understood that more before surgery, because I would have did this a long time ago. I had been back and forth in my head about this for a long time, because in my mind, I'm like, I need to just do it naturally. I need to do it the right way. I need to do it the way that people would be proud of, and just so focused on the appearances of things and how it looked from the outside versus looking at it as like, my body doesn't process insulin in the same way that everybody else's does. So I could have a tool that will help me, but I will still need to work hard in order to maintain those results, in order to get the results that I want. But the tool is not a cheat. It's just a tool. And for a lot of us, it's a necessary tool for us to be able to achieve our goals and to actually live a healthy, happy lifestyle. So there is nothing to be ashamed about that. All right, so that is all I have for now for things I wish I knew before surgery. I'm 1000% sure I'm gonna do more of these videos whenever things come to my mind, because as I said in the beginning, as I get further and further along on this journey, I learn so much more things, and this journey is really just transformational. So with journeys like that, like, you're gonna learn new things along the way, and as I learn them, I share them with you. If you have anything that you wish you knew before surgery, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Where in the world is Karen San Diego? From BK to Belly, it's anywhere she say so. She changing your life, can see it straight through her eyes.